Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning and namaste, everybody. And welcome back. We are reopening now for our fall session. The subject that I had chosen is attaining peace. Now, of course, we have the United Nations General Assembly here, whose whole job is to attain world peace. I didn't have that in mind when I chose the subject. It's just a fortunate coincidence. But it's a different kind of peace that we are going to talk about. It is peace within ourselves, peace in our own heart. There is one kind of task which the United Nations is doing, attainment of world peace, and good luck to them. New Yorkers are not so much worried about world peace. They're more worried about gridlock and traffic closures and all that because of the UN General Assembly meeting. The two are not unrelated. I remember, if you go on a tour of the United Nations headquarters here, one of the first things they will show you is a meditation room. I think it's named after Dag Hammarskjöld, one of the early general secretaries of the, would it be Secretaries General? I think so. Secretary General of the United Nations. He was a philosopher too, a practical philosopher. In one of his diaries, I remember, very touching, he writes that greater than taking care of the affairs of the world is, I believe, the ability to love even one person sincerely. Who is saying this? The General Secretary of the United Nations. So, I remember reading Thich Nhat Hanh, who sort of kick-started the mindfulness revolution in the United States, the Vietnamese monk who wrote that classic, The Miracle of Mindfulness. I remember when we were novice monks, we are Hindu monks, in Calcutta, in our main monastery, our president at that time, Revered Swami told us to read that book. So he writes in one place, Thich Nhat Hanh, when he came to Europe for the first time in the 70s, at that time there were these protests against nuclear weapons. Funny how these things come round in cycles, And one thing he noticed was, it's a good cause. You're protesting for peace, you're peace activism. You want peace. But he said, I noted how angry the peace activists were. And it did not strike them as strange. And they are angry for a good cause. But you're mad and you want peace. There's a contradiction there. So internal peace. To attain world peace, we need peace within ourselves. And how do we attain that peace? One thing I remember that the Swami who visited us a few months ago, Swami Anubhavananda Saraswati, he said, one of the things he said I liked very much, he said was that devotees often complain about, my mind is restless, I try to meditate, but my mind is not peaceful, my mind is restless. And he says that's a sign of progress actually. Why is that a sign of progress? One way of trying to attain peace in our lives is, how can I make the world peaceful? How can I stop these people from troubling me, the difficult people? How can my health situation be better, my financial situation be better, my environment be better? Trying to rearrange the world to my idea of a peaceful world, of a peaceful life. That's one way of doing it. The problem is it's not possible. It's just not possible. It's like the king, whose foot was pricked by a thorn, and he told the minister, cover the kingdom in leather so that my foot will... And the minister said, look, put these on. These are shoes. And then your foot will be safe from the thorns of fate. How do we make ourselves safe? How do we get a deep inner peace which will not be ruffled by the ever-changing and necessarily changing circumstances outside? That's the subject. That's what I mean by attaining peace. And it is such people who can genuinely work for world peace. Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Sri Ramakrishna, in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Kathamrita, he says, how do you get peace? Now remember, this is in Bengal, which is a hot and humid climate. So he says, the closer you come to the Ganga, the cooler you feel the cooling breezes from the Ganga. And then finally he says, Ganga Snan, you take a dip in the Ganga and then you get, he says, Shanti, peace. You have to imagine, not like this. It's a very hot and humid climate. One of the first Europeans who came to Bengal, he writes, this is a heavenly land with a hellish climate. So the closer you come to the Ganga, you feel the cooling breezes, and finally you take a dip in the Ganga and you have peace. It's cool. Closer you come to God, you get this peace. How do we come close to the divine in our lives, and so that we have the cooling influence of the divine in our lives and we attain peace in this life? That's what we're going to talk about. One way, of course, immediately we come to this idea of meditation. So if it's a question of putting on shoes, not covering the kingdom with leather, yes. Yes. So we must make a change within ourselves. It's a change in the subjective, not a change in the objective. Not a change in the external world, but a change in the inner world first, before you start making a change in the society and in the family and in the organization. Meditation is one of those ways, the way of yoga. Yoga, of course, is any spiritual path, but meditation is one of the central paths. Imagine the peace of you are not aware of the external world, you are not aware, the sensory system is shut down, and and you have a peaceful mind. So then there is peace within. One of the preliminary practices in yoga is called yama. Before we sit down and have a calm mind, there is something, the preliminary practice is called yama. So this requires a little bit of a background. What is it that we are trying to do? How do we get peace in meditation? What's the underlying principle? One monk put it beautifully. I've shared it on occasion. He said that, in Hindi, I'll tell you first and translate. आपको लगता है संसार के चलते मन अशांत है. वास्तव में अशांत मन के लिए संसार है. So we think because of samsara, because of all the problems in the world, the way people talk to us or behave with us, the way my life has gone, the shocks and blows I've suffered, my health situation, financial situation, society around me, because of these reasons, I am unhappy. My mind is disturbed. And the insight, the powerful insight here is, no. It's the other way around. It's counterintuitive, but it's the other way around. It's because my mind is disturbed that I have samsara, that I see so much trouble in the world. That does not seem to be true at first. I said, no, I have so much trouble, Swami. But notice, consider for a while, that the same trouble, two different people will react differently. Two different people will suffer differently. There are so many doctors here, and you all know this for a fact. The same disease, the same problem, two different patients react very differently. One, for a minor malady, one behaves as if the world is coming down, And for something really serious, maybe terminal illness, the patient reacts with dignity and calmness and steadiness. So, who is suffering more? Is it the person with the serious illness but who is calm? Or the person with who is very disturbed for a minor illness? Who is suffering more? The one who is internally disturbed is suffering more, because suffering comes to us mediated through the mind. It's not really what is out there. What is out there, when it comes in through the senses into the mind and there is a reaction in the mind, that is suffering. So the clever person, instead of trying to, change the circumstances in the world outside, will try to change the reaction in the mind. And one of the powerful ways of trying to change the reaction in the mind is through the yoga of meditation. The yoga of meditation. Now, as a preliminary to the yoga of meditation, we all know this. There is, for example, in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there are the well-known yama, niyama, the preliminary disciplines, the moral practices, then how you sit and how you even breathe and how we withdraw our senses from the world outside, then how we focus inside and steady our minds in that focus. That is meditation. And that culminates in samadhi, the ashtanga, the 8 limbs of yoga. The first limb, however, I just want to focus on that a little bit. The first limb is certain disciplines, certain moral practices. So, for example, non-violence, ahimsa, truth, satya, brahmacharya, control of the passions, and then aparigraha, non-accumulation, and then asteya, non-stealing. These are the 5 great moral practices which are prescribed before we enter into the practice of meditation. But let's just consider a little subtle insight about these. Let's take non-violence, for example. So I was reading someplace an analysis of violence and how many kinds of violence there is. This is one particular way of looking at it. It came to 81 types of violence, 81 categories of violence. How? First of all, violence done through body, that's the most obvious thing. You go ahead and shove somebody or punch somebody, that's violence done through body. But violence done through speech also, harsh speech, cruel speech, deliberately designed to hurt. Or violence, even violence in the mind, kind of hatred for others, wishing others ill. So what is called kaya mana vakya. Kaya means in body, mana means in mind, vakya means in expressed speech. Violence in these ways. These are 3 different kinds of violence. But also, violence, the degree of the violence. The terms used were mridu, manda, ati. Mridu means gentle. Maybe just wishing somebody ill or something like that. Or a little more, medium. Saying something bad. Or more harsh, something more cruel, physical violence or more than that. So degrees of violence, there are 3 types. And now if you combine them, done by speech, done by mind, done in the mind, done physically, and then mild, medium, and extreme. Now you have 3 into 3, 9 types? 9 types of violence now. Now that is multiplied by 3 more types, which is the violence which is done by oneself, done through others, or enabling others to do it, or encouraging others to do it. So, krita, karita, anumodita. So, where krita means we ourselves do it in some form. Karita means you make somebody else do it for you, instigate others. Anumodita means you support it, you enable it. All of them are types of violence. And so you multiply those 9 types of violence with these 3, and you get, what, 27? And then you can add causes of violence. There is kama, krodha. There's krodha, moha, lobha, 3 types of causes. One is most obvious, through anger. A flash of anger comes and then engages in violence. But also moha, delusion. May not be particularly angry, but might have convinced oneself that violence is necessary. For example, fanaticism of all types, political fanaticism, religious fanaticism, these are all kinds of delusion, which convince us that violence is right and should be done. Or greed. I'm not deluded. I know exactly what I want. I'm not even angry at you, but I just want what you have. Or you are getting in the way of what I want. And then greed is also a cause of, often it's a major cause of violence. So now you have 3 causes of violence. If you multiply 27 by 3, you get 81. You can analyze it this way, you can analyze it in some other way also. But the point here is, violence can be of many types, many degrees, many causes, many ways of being violent. But the point I want to make is, being non-violent is one. Violence is manyfold. But being non-violent is one. There is only one way of being non-violent. And that non-violent, not being violent, all those 81 types, stopping it, it is peace. The opposite of violence is peace. Look at truth, satyam, the other yama, the second one, telling the truth. Now, I read this saying somewhere, very nice. It says, there are innumerable ways of falling down. There's only one way of standing up straight. There's only one way of being a person of integrity, of being honest. And there may be hundreds of ways of being dishonest. Dishonesty, lying can be of hundreds of types, but the truth is one. The cessation of all those lying activities, of all those forms of lies, of dishonesty, the cessation of that is peace. So truth is also peace. Truth is one and it is peace. Lying is manifold and is the opposite of peace. Exactly in the same way, if you take brahmacharya, literally it means celibacy, but control of the passions. We may indulge ourselves in hundreds of ways. In hundreds of ways. If you look around the whole, you're in Manhattan now. You look around, there are hundreds of ways of indulging the senses. But controlling the senses is basically, the brahmacharya is peace. It's only one way of being self-controlled, and it's peace. Accumulation is manifold. Again, we are in Manhattan. Huh? So accumulation is manifold. There's right there, if you walk in Central Park, you have billionaires row. So accumulation is manifold. In many, many ways we may get, one may be a multi-billionaire and have fancy cars and buildings, and nowadays apartments and all you buy. Or one may be a homeless, unfortunate person with a big bag on the back and where garbage has been collected. It's the same tendency to collect stuff. One might do it, you might say it's not the same at all. In one sense it isn't. You are rich and powerful and accomplished and you can do the same thing in much bigger fashion on a greater scale, but it's still garbage. It's still doing the same thing that the unfortunate homeless person who's maybe mentally ill is doing, is gathering just stuff from the roadside. Accumulation is of hundreds of types, thousands of types, but non-accumulation, aparigraha, is of one type only. Vivekananda said, when he came to the West, he says the West has shown that how much a person may accumulate in this pursuit of happiness. And he says India is striving to show on how little a person can live and yet be fulfilled. So that non-accumulation is peace. One teacher put it this way: the moment we accumulate things, we accumulate because we like it. It might even be a momentary liking. What is it called? Impulse buying. Nowadays it's much faster. Amazon, it just takes one click. It says buy with one click. So buy with one click. And if it ever, once I tried to return something I bought by mistake. I didn't even know I'd bought it. Some 3 or 4 e-books were bought and he said this much money has been deducted from your account. I said, no, I don't want it. It's so much trouble. You have to explain why you don't want it and what happened to you. And then they may or may not return your money. They're very good at taking the money. But letting go is not so easy. I remember long way back, I had seen a Hollywood movie when I was a kid. There was this comedian, Eddie Murphy, I'm not very sure. I just remember this scene, it really struck in my mind, that there is somebody asking for donations, maybe the Salvation Army or something, and this gentleman, the comedian, he feels, I must donate something. And he goes and takes out a big bill, maybe $20 or $50, something in those days. And he goes, "Here, my man, take this." And that man says, "Thank you so much, sir." And he grabs the bill. And now this man who's giving it, he can't let go. He's trying, but his hand will not open. And that's such a telling scene, And the other man is pulling it, and he wants to give it, but he won't. The hand won't let go. Accumulation. So this Swami who was teaching, he said, the moment we want something, like something and want it, we have thrown a part of our mind into it. The more stuff you have in your room, in your house, in your possession, these are mine. Remember, we have thrown our mind into it. See, it's like this. If I grab hold of this desk and say, "This is mine," I might think I'm doing something great. I've got this. But I'm also trapped here. Look, I'm trapped here. I can't go anywhere else. This has also caught hold of me. Sri Ramakrishna tells the story of the man in high flood. He sees an expensive rug being swept away in the flood waters. And he says, why should he be wasted? He jumps into the water and swims mightily and catches hold of the rug. What he thought was the rug was actually a bear being swept away. The moment he caught hold of the bear caught hold of the bear hug. And on the shore, the people are saying, "Let go of the rug, you will be drowned." And he shouts back, "I let go, but the rug doesn't let go of me." Kambal ko jaane dijiye. Let the blanket or the rug be, let it go. He said, "Kambal ko to maine chhod diya, kambal nahi chhodta hai humko. I have let it go, but it doesn't let me go." That's the nature of possession. It catches we don't know that. We think I possess it. Yes, you do, but they also possess you. They also possess you. Our mind is scattered. It's only when one tries to meditate. Try to meditate in a room full of your own clutter. Difficult. Try to meditate in a room which is empty and minimalistic. Much easier. Then, of course, non-stealing. Again, the same thing. Stealing can be of many types, and non-stealing honesty is of one type, and it is peace. The point I want to make here is, notice, the 5 preliminaries. What are we trying to do? We understand that the peace of mind depends on the peace of mind. So, we must change our inner mental state through meditation. But the meditation masters tell us that these 5 disciplines are necessary. Now notice, our goal is peace of mind. But these 5 preliminary disciplines, they're all peace of mind. The non-violence, 81 types of violence, but only one type of non-violence, and that is peace. Dishonesty, hundreds and thousands of types of dishonesty, but truth is only one, and that is peace. Control of the passions, indulgence in our senses are of hundreds of types, but control, settling it down, is of one type only, and that is peace. Accumulation, hundreds and thousands of types of accumulation one can have. Just look at your own shopping cart, Amazon. But empty the cart, that is peace. Empty means don't buy it. Empty it. Non-stealing. Dishonesty and stealing can be of hundreds of types, thousands of types. But non-stealing is of one type, and that is peace. So all the 5 yamas are actually of the nature of peace. And they lead finally to meditation, deep meditation. Imagine a condition, a state attained through careful attention, where we have let go of the external world. I do not see anything, hear anything, smell, taste, touch anything. The body is stilled, carefully, fully awake, carefully stilled. The breath is deep and even. The mind is focused on one thing, maybe a mantra, maybe a visualization. Ultimately, that's also dropped. In that deep stillness, it's a kind of peace that, they say, peace that passeth understanding. We generally don't encounter in this world, in our day-to-day life. Often on this journey, people fall asleep. The reason being, people are so tired. They don't know how tired they are, exhausted in this world. So when you calm down the body, the result is mind wants to go to sleep. That's also all right. But if you can keep awake and in an absolutely calm body, absolutely calm and stilled mind, meditation is possible. This is called chitta vritti nirodha. cessation of the movements of the mind. The mind is incessantly moving. Cessation of the movements of the mind. That does not seem like a good idea to many. It's surprising. I have a hand. Now, if a hand goes on grabbing stuff, because that's what a hand is made to do, that goes on grabbing stuff all the time, you'd think it's weird, that's restless. Keep your hands quiet. Settle down. But if I have feet, but if I'm continuously walking around here and there, that's restlessness. That would be crazy. You say, settle down. For a while, sit. I remember seeing this movie, Charlie Chaplin. He gets a job in a factory. And his job is to tighten the bolts on an assembly, which is passing on an assembly line. And that's all he has to do all day long. The thing comes and he tightens the bolt. Then it comes, he tightens the bolt. And he goes on. On lunch break, he can't stop himself. He's doing this all the time. And they call the foreman who comes and, and it's a silent movie, who is obviously yelling at him to stop doing that. And he twists the man's nose. And he's obviously helpless. He can't stop himself. It's all day long. That's what has happened to us. That's what has happened to us. Our minds are like that. We are continuously going around in the world doing this all the time. Settle down. We tell the mind to become still, because incessant thinking is incessant chatter. And it's useless chatter. And it's damaging chatter. It's like continuous self-talk. And it's self-talk of an idiotic kind. It's not a deliberately done self-talk. It's an idiotic kind of self-talk, which is an accumulation, a kind of mechanical accumulation of whatever has impacted us in life. So we quieten down that. That is a good idea, to quieten down the mind. It's an instrument. Why should you let it function all the time and overwhelm you? I often think that people who shoot themselves, kill themselves, they shoot themselves in the head. It's like, make it stop. It's going on and on. Make it stop. Meditation really makes it stop. That's why people try to drink themselves into a stupor or take drugs or whatever. Those are ways which it's like hitting the head with a hammer. But the other way of doing it is actually gaining control of the mind, making the mind a friend. In Gita, Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, you are your own best friend, you are your own worst enemy. And then he explains, the one who has gained control of their own mind, for them, they are their own best friend. The one who has not controlled their mind, they are their worst enemy. Chitta vritti nirodha, cessation of the movements of the mind. And then there are different grades of samadhi. This deepens into samadhi. How is this connected with what Sri Ramakrishna said? Coming closer to the Ganga, you feel peace. The more deeper and quieter our meditation is, more you feel the cooling breeze of the Ganga. It becomes quieter, it becomes more peaceful. And we enjoy deep peace. Shantim nirvana paramam matsangstham adhigacchati. Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, in the 6th chapter on meditation, says in this way, Yunjan evam sadatmanam yogi niyatamanasa. The yogi with mind controlled in this way, which we are talking about, with the mind controlled, constantly practicing meditation, becomes identified with me, centered in God. And what's the result? Shantim nirvana paramam. The eternal, the ultimate peace of nirvana becomes their possession, that they become centered in that. One thing has to be pointed out here. There are these two things. What might be called a nirvikalpaka state and a nirvikalpaka knowledge or realization. Nirvikalpaka means without any movement, without any alternative. The mind just remains still. That's a state. And it's a very valuable state. But it is attained with effort, and whatever is attained with effort will also be lost. You will attain that state, but you will also come out of it. One goes into samadhi. Whatever you go into, you'll also come out of it. It's automatic. It will come out sooner or later. But what is permanent is what is called nirvikalpaka bodha, the realization that I am the one consciousness which is ever the same, which need not be made peaceful. This awareness, it's like an ever-shining light that is always there. The whole purpose of meditation in Patanjali Yoga is to realize what I truly am. It's not really to make the mind calm. Making the mind calm, making the mind still, making the mind deeply meditative is just a method of realizing what lies beyond the mind. What lies beyond the mind? You. You. The real you. What's this distinction between real? Is there a real me and an unreal me? There is an apparent you and a real you. The apparent you is the mind. Vivekananda called it the real man and the apparent man. The apparent mind is the mind, the personality. The one who is always subject to restlessness, unhappiness, and periods of peace and happiness. The real person, I would say the real self, not a person, the real self is beyond this restlessness. It is always peaceful. It is always the same shining light. And that is realized in this deep meditation. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Patanjali says in the third sutra, what's the point? What's the ultimate goal of this kind of deep meditation? The ultimate goal of meditation is not meditation. Ultimate goal of meditation is what you see in that meditation. Beyond the stilled mind, it becomes clear that you are not the mind. You are not the restless mind. You are not even the still mind. You are the witness of the still mind. You are consciousness itself, which is never restless. Which is never restless. Which, when the mind becomes restless, the consciousness is still there, just like a light ever shining. It illumines the peaceful mind. It illumines the mind in meditation. It illumines the restless mind also. Once this distinction is clear, you will have peace. That knowledge will stay even when you come out of meditation. When we come out of meditation, the senses start functioning, the mind starts functioning, and the self-talk starts again. But we have the clear knowledge that I am not this mind. I am not this sensory system. I am not even this body. It's there. It is there, and I am functioning through it. I am not body with awareness. I am awareness with a body. And that makes all the difference. Otherwise, what happens is, Patanjali tells us, vritti sarupyam itaratra. If you do not know who you are, what happens is, the mind becomes identified. Consciousness, you become identified with the mind. This ability to separate ourselves from the mind, you are separate from the mind. This ability to see that I am separate from the mind, clearly, this gives great, great peace. This is attainment of peace. You will get tremendous peace in the middle of that meditation, but once we come out of that meditation also, that peace will remain. When you know that you are not the mind, very clearly. Even while you are driving the car, you know you are not the car. While wearing the clothes, I know I am not the clothes. Similarly, while using the mind, while the mind is active and thinking and feeling and sensing and remembering, I know I am not that. That's very clear. That is deep meditation, and that is the benefit of deep meditation. Attaining peace. Along comes the devotee, the lover of God, and says, no. I refuse. What is this chitta vritti nirodha, sitting quietly with your eyes closed? No, I will not sit with my eyes closed. I'll open my eyes. What is this sitting quietly, not speaking at all? They say, Vang nirodha yogasya prathamadwaram. The first door of yoga is to cessation of the... Keep quiet. Don't speak so much. Control of the tongue is the first door. This is the door to yoga. The first door of yoga is that. The devotee says, no, I will speak. I will sing. I will chant. Sit quietly in asana, don't move. No, I refuse. I will dance. I will sing and dance and pray and chant. I'll open my eyes and look at the beauty of my beloved Lord. I will see my Krishna or my Christ or whatever is your object of the divinity where you focus, the devotee focuses his or her love. I will focus on that. I will think about my beloved. I will chant and sing and dance. Who are you to stop me? What is this nonsense sitting quietly with? What's the point of that? I will enjoy, but not in the foolish way of the worldly and flowing out into the worldly and trying to enjoy things in the world and getting kicks and blows. Not in that way. But I will enjoy the divine where there is no reaction. Where there is only more and more peace. The more you enjoy the divine, the more peace you have. Does the devotee have no peace? Has great peace. While talking, walking, acting, doing everything, All the activities of the world are going on with great peace, but the activities are all now centered around the divine beloved. My Rama, my Krishna. Centered around that. In the Narada Yoga Bhakti Sutras, I think my favorite sutra there is Sarvada Sarva Bhavena Nischintitehi Bhagavan Eva Bhajaniya. At all times and in all ways, with a mind completely free of anxiety, Nischintitehi. What do? Bhagavan Eva Bhajaniya. The Lord alone is to be adored. In all our lives, let the mantra go on internally, and eyes open. You look upon the face of the divine. Or when you are interacting with people, you think that my beloved Lord is in the hearts of all these people, and I am worshipping my Lord alone. The devotee, people think how loving the devotee is. Many people think the monks, they are so loving, they love us so much. Don't be fooled. They love only one, but they see the one in you. But then are they deceiving us? They don't love me. No, they love you more genuinely than you know, because they know your reality more than you know. They know our reality more than we know. So they look through they don't see us as a body. They don't even see us as a person. They see us as divinity. The divinity within us, the divinity in our own hearts, the God that they love, they find in us, and they are worshipping that Lord. They are loving that Lord. They are loving only one. One devotee wrote to a great monk. I have written, the letters were in Hindi. So this monk's reply to the devotee. He said, you have written, in Hindi I am translating, you have written to me, I hope you are thinking about us. And I would like to say this to you. What kind of guru do you want? The guru who thinks about God, or the guru who is thinking about you? The spiritual practitioner should think about God. That spiritual practitioner, that spiritual seeker, master is valuable for us, who is God, absorbed in God, not absorbed in me. I don't want that. That's all too human. Absorbed in God, not obsessed with me. Yes, if you say that, but Krishna is thinking about the devotee, Sri Ramakrishna is thinking about the devotees. Yes, that's different. That's God thinking about God's duty is to think about the devotees. The devotee's duty is to think about God. Only God will think about us. The avatar will think about us, will consider our situation and have mercy on us. But we will focus on the avatar. We will focus on God. How do you get peace? Through love one gets peace. And the lover of God is busy making garlands for the beloved Lord. And I've seen in the temple in our main monastery there, monks who are very busy in their lot of work, but they will always take time out if they can get something they can do in the temple of Sri Ramakrishna in Belur Math, make a garland or clean a vase or something. They consider it one of the high points of the day, because directly you are able to serve the Lord in the temple. How do you get peace? Another important thing is surrendering to the Lord. Nischintitehi, with no concern, with no anxiety, love the Lord. How will you have no anxiety? Put the entire burden on the Lord. One man was going in a train, and he saw, you can see in India, another man was sitting in front of him with a big bundle on his head. And this man said, brother, put the bundle down. The train which is carrying you will also carry the bundle. It's exactly like that. The train of God, the divine train which is carrying all of us, will also carry your troubles. Put the bundle down at the feet of the Lord. You take care of it, my Lord. I'll do whatever has to be done, but I will not worry about it. It is your samsara. Once one gentleman came to our monastery in Madras in those days. Now it's called Chennai. In Madras in those days. And the founder of the monastery there, Ramakrishna Math, Mylapur, and those who have been there, Swami Ramakrishnananda, Sashi Maharaj, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. And this gentleman would come, and he had many projects for social development, for social welfare. He didn't do anything, but he had many projects. And he wanted to talk about it in great detail to the Swami, to Swami Ramakrishnananda, who listened to him patiently and then remarked, I wonder what God did before you were born. putting the whole burden on God doesn't mean you will become passive. In fact, you can be very dynamic, very active. I was reading, you do all our activities depending on the Lord. I was reading Martin Luther, the founder of the Protestant movement in Europe. So in one of his diaries, he writes that every day he spends 1 hour on his knees in the morning praying to God. He says, the day I have no time, too much to do, no time, that day I spend 2 hours. Force more time, give more time to the Lord. So, nischintite, put your entire burden on the Lord. But I don't know what will happen. I want it this way and my Lord wants it that way. Then, well, what my Lord wants should happen, not what I want. I've told this story earlier also. I heard it in the Himalayas. Generally, we used to go begging for our food. There are some monks who did not go begging. And one story I heard, I didn't see this myself, but I heard about a monk who lived in a cave long before I went there, who would not go begging. And the villagers would bring him food and leave it outside the cave. It's like a little bit like feeding a bear or something. Leave it outside the cave. And he would come and eat. And he would always sing and dance. Mera yaar mujhe khilata. He would call God my friend, my buddy. Yaar means buddy. My buddy feeds me, my friend feeds me. So one day the villagers wanted to test him. They didn't bring any food that day, but they watched from a distance, hid behind rocks and watched what happens. At the appointed hour, the monk came out of the cave and looked around. No food. He shrugged and went back inside. After some time, 1 hour later, he came back and looked around. Went back inside. In the evening, I hope the villagers did take some food. They came up to the monk and they said, well, didn't your friend feed you today? And they wanted to teach him a lesson. It's not your friend who feeds you, it's we who feed you. He danced and he said, and he danced and he sang, Chalo aaj meri yaar ki chali, chalo aaj meri yaar ki chali. Well, wonderful. Today the will of my beloved was done. My beloved friend, his will was done. What do you mean? Every day, he explained, every day I want to eat, I am hungry. And my beloved also agrees with me and feeds me. But today I want to eat, I am hungry. But my beloved did not agree with me, did not feed me. I am so happy today. My will was not done, his will was done. I am very happy today. Chalo aaj meri yaar ki chali. See, this is real dependence on the will of God. Everything that happens here, good, bad, ugly, is the will of God. We will try to do what is good. We will fight against what is bad or ugly, but we know it is happening by the will of God. We do not know why. The devotee does not care to understand why. The devotee just wants to surrender and love the Lord and do his or her best. That is the way to peace. In the Imitation of Christ, there is that passage where the devotee asks, the author imagines that the devotee is asking Jesus, that Lord, how can I get peace? And he says, my son, if you want peace, do these 4 things. And if you see, then we'll see how difficult peace is and why we don't get peace. We just get pieces of our life, 4 things. 1, always seek to have less rather than more. Opposite of New York philosophy. Always seek to have less rather than more if you want peace. 2nd, always seek to be last rather than first. Even worse. So in matters of credit, enjoyment, going ahead in life, I'll be behind. You go ahead. You enjoy. 2. 3rd, even more difficult, even worse. Always seek to do the will of another rather than your own will. In all matters, of opinion. We always want my opinion should be followed. It's an opinion. The other person's opinion may not be as good as yours, but yours may be a little better. The other person's opinion might be a little worse. Let that person's opinion be upheld. Let the will of the other, try to do the will of the other rather than your own will. Very difficult. We always want to win the argument. We always want others to do what we want. And we say, because we are right, after all. I am right. That's why they should do it. Or I know better. And the problem is the other person also thinks that. But the point is the last one, the 4th one. In all things, see and try to accept the will of God. That's the important thing. And then you find peace. 4 things. So always seek to have less rather than more. Always seek to be last rather than first. Always seek to do the will of another rather than your own will. And finally, in all things, see and accept the will of God. Vedanta, we say, Ishvara is the Lord, is the doer of everything in this world. Whatever happens is by the will of God. To be able to flow accordingly, that is a great practice itself. The devotee does it because it's easier for the devotee because the devotee loves God. We find it more difficult because, I love God, but I also love the world. I want the world to be like this. The Lord wants it the other way around, I get annoyed with the Lord. No. I love the Lord, and it's the Lord's world. If the Lord wants it this way or that way, it's of course, the Lord has every right to do whatever he or she wants with the world. And I'll do my best. Whatever I've been put, wherever I've been put, I will do my best. With the help of the Lord, I'll try to do my best. So this is how the bhakta, the devotee, finds peace. Now we come to the way of jnana, the way of knowledge. Sri Ramakrishna, in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, in one place, there's this Brahmin, Krishnadhan, who Sri Ramakrishna liked, but he was a frivolous kind, spending his days like that. He was intelligent, capable. Sri Ramakrishna encouraged him. Focus. Now is the time to focus on spirituality, on God realization. Don't spend your days like this. And so this Krishnadhan remarks that, this path is endless. The path of spirituality, the path is endless. And Sri Ramakrishna contradicts him. He says, no. There is an end. Where you find peace, there is the end. Jekhane shanti, shekhane. In Bengali he says, shekhane tishto, stay there. Another place he says that neti neti korte korte jekhane shanti, shekhanei tini achen. When you do not this, the way of knowledge, when you do not this, and then you attain to peace, know that you have found the truth. You stay there, be centered there. It's not an endless path. There is a clear end to it, which we find, and you become centered in it, and it's done forever. Then you manifest it. Then you live it. Sri Ramakrishna, before I go into that, Mataji is here from the Arsha Vidya. I am just reminded, how do you get peace in the way of knowledge? So, revered Swami Dayanandaji used to say this, if I am not wrong. He used to say, what Vedanta can do for you is that it can move you from what to so what. Yes. In his characteristic humor, he said, this is what Vedanta does for you. It moves you from what? We get so upset with things in life, whatever you get upset with. Wherever we are, in whatever position we are, there are things which we get upset with. We will not anymore. You will move from what to so what. It's all right. We do the Ram Nam, the names of Sri Ramachandra, and in the initial verses, invocatory verses, there is a beautiful, very beautiful verse. Mukhambuja Shri Raghunandanasya. The peace, the serenity on the face of Sri Ramachandra. The verse says, which was not increased when he was anointed the crown prince of Ayodhya. And that same night, he was banished to the forest. Just, no, you're not going to be king. You're just going to be exiled to the forest. Which was not decreased, which did not darken even a little bit. The glow, the serenity, the peace, the smile on his face did not darken a little bit when he was thrown out of the palace to go into the forest for 14 years, an uncertain future. That one, that glow, that peace, that serenity, that smile made shower auspiciousness on us. That is the chant at the beginning of the Ram Nam. How can we have that? I remember there is something called holy envy. What it means is when you meet a genuinely spiritual person, you may feel a kind of jealousy. It's a holy jealousy. It's a good thing. You feel, I want some of that, which you have. I remember feeling that one. I didn't even know this term at that time. I was a newcomer. And we used to go early in the morning to offer our pranams to the president of the order, the head of the whole Ramakrishna order, revered Swami Bhuteshanji Maharaj. He was 98, 97 years around that time. And we used to go and bow down to him, and he would talk to us for a while. He would speak with us, mostly with the senior monks. We were very junior, we were newcomers. We were not even allowed inside the room because there's no space. I understand there are some in the basement today and a lot of people online also. So I remember we used to stand outside the window, and they were kind enough to put little speakers outside the window and a lapel mic on his shirt so that we could hear. I still remember, we're just trying to get a glimpse of him through the curtains, just pushing each other to just see. We can see just a little bit of him from a distance, but there were other monks standing around in front. And I would feel what this old man has, 97 years old. If I could get a fraction of that, it's an unnameable quality of a very lofty peace. It's not a physical thing, it's not a pranic thing, it's not a mental or intellectual thing, not emotional, something which comes from beyond the mind-body, something transcendent, which shines through this person and elevates the whole room, the whole atmosphere, the entire house as it were. It vibrates with the presence of this one man. And so lofty, 30 years have passed, and I can still, much more clearly than what happened this morning, I can visualize what happened in those days, 30 years ago. And even the feeling of it, the sound of the voice, the presence in front. And he's not alone. There are others like that also. So the holy envy, I want some of that. That which takes you from the what to the so what. Sri Ramakrishna says, the problem here on this path is, many speak of Brahman, but their eyes are always on low things. And then that's the problem. There's attachment in the mind to sense pleasures, to power, to position, to popularity, whatever. The things which used to attract us earlier, they still have a spell on us, although now we know all this Vedanta. So this is saying, Kushala Brahma Vartayam Suraginaha Ajnanataya Punareva Ayanti Yanti Ayanti Cha. Says, because of the persistence of ignorance, they are not really enlightened. Speakers, they're clever about speaking about Brahman, about Vedanta. They give nice talks on YouTube. But they're full of old desires. And so what will happen to them? Even if they know a lot of Vedanta, Punar Yanti Ayanti. Just like everybody else, they will be whirled around in this samsara until they become really established in the knowledge which they are speaking about. It's not that if you know a lot of Sanskrit and you read a lot of books, you become enlightened. Not necessarily. One may still be pretty worldly. I remember this great scholar whom I had an occasion to meet a couple of times. He was the head of the Society of Pandits in Calcutta in those days. Very great scholar. So in his old age, he was 90 plus at that time, and he was very well known for, and he was proud of that. He was very well known for astrology. You can see your hand and tell you what, and he would charge you a hefty amount. And somebody asked him, "Sir, you are a master of Sankhya and Vedanta, and so why are you spending your time in astrology?" You'd have to shout it out to him because he was hard of hearing. He said, "What? Why are you interested in astrology? You have mastered Sankhya and you have degrees in Sankhya, Nyaya, Vedanta, all the ancient disciplines. Why astrology?" I'll tell you in Bengali what he said. Ote paisa nahi, paisa achhe. He said, there is no money in philosophy. There is money here in astrology. People are willing to pay. If you predict their future, people are willing to pay. So that was nice of him. He's like a childlike honesty. But money is important. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, what is the problem there? He says, asakti, this stickiness of the mind, that it still holds on to those old things. Even after knowing all this, it still holds on to those old things. The thing to be developed is asangatvam. This, if you want peace of mind, this is a beautiful Sanskrit word. You can call it detachment. Literally, it means non-stickiness. Nothing in the world really sticks to us. We stick to it. We try to hold, and also we fail miserably trying to hold on to things. Now, we cannot hold on to anything, but we try to hold on to things. And nothing in the world holds on to us. Not money, not people, not power, not fame, not health, nothing. It's continuously flowing. We are attached to the world. Even you are also not attached to the world. One monk put it so beautifully. Think of the strongest possible attachment in life. It's a young mother for her baby. Mother for a young baby, strongest possible. There's a very strong biological and social need for that, of course, but it's the strongest attachment. And yet, when she goes to sleep happily. I think young mothers get less sleep than others, so they are very happy when they get sleep. And they forget everything, the world, their own bodies, their own baby is forgotten. You are not attached. You think you are attached. Nothing in the world is attached to us, and we are not attached to anything, our real nature, ourself. Asangatva. Let me dwell just a little bit, and I'm going to indulge myself a little bit. This is a subject which I enjoy. Why are we not attached to anything? What is the mechanism? Why do you think we are, and why we are not actually attached to anything? As awareness, we are like light. We are aware of things. So I am aware, and I'm aware of objects. People, places. This is Swami, are people objects to you? People means the body, the behavior, the language, those are definitely objective. The conscious being, remember, the sentient being, the conscious being which you are, it can never be objectified by anybody else. We can all see your body, your behavior. We can hear your language. But we cannot see you as consciousness. That never becomes an object to anybody. What is an object is that which appears to consciousness. That which appears to consciousness is an object. Think of yourself as a light which illumines everything in your life. Whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, whatever we think about, whatever we remember, whatever we hate, whatever we love, whatever we desire, whatever we plan, all of that, they are objects being illumined by you. You are light. Now the light is not affected by what it illumines. This is the principle. Shankaracharya says, Adityavad bhasya vilakshano aham. Like the sun, bright sunny day out there. But it illumines everything. People and cars and buildings and Central Park and water and trees, but clouds. But the sunlight is not affected by any of it. When it illumines the water in the lake, does the sunlight become wet? When it illumines the dust on the road, does the sunlight become dusty? Not at all. Like the sun, I illumine everything, but I am distinct from what I illumine. So that's one reason why we are asanga, non-attached. Whatever we illumine, whatever, if you are aware of it, you are not connected to it. If you are aware of it, it does not affect you. It just seems to be the opposite of our own experience. If that which I am aware of affects me, so no, if you're aware of it, doesn't affect you because you are that which illumines the object. That object cannot affect you. Like light, like sunlight, we illumine objects, and like sunlight, we are distinct from what we illumine. That's one reason. The second reason is a technical word called upadhi. I've had occasion to mention it a few times. Upadhi is, imagine if you have a crystal. This is a classic example. And you put a red flower behind it. This is a classic example in Sanskrit texts. You put a red flower behind the crystal. The crystal is transparent. But if you put a red flower behind it, from that side, it'll look red to you. If I put this orange cloth behind the crystal, from that side, the crystal will look orange to you. Now this orange cloth or the red flower is called an upadhi. Upadhi is translated quite unhelpfully in English as the adjunct. What adjunct? What does it mean? Anything that which comes near and appears to transfer. Appears, that's the operative word, important word. Appears to transfer its properties to something else. So this one comes near the crystal and appears to transfer its orange color to the crystal. The red flower comes near the crystal and appears to transfer the red color to the crystal. But the crystal, even when it looks red, it's not red, it's colorless. Even when it looks orange, it's not orange, it's colorless. And we know that. Exactly like that, we, the awareness, the witness consciousness, when the mind comes near it, like the red flower or the orange cloth, it appears to transfer its qualities to the consciousness, to you. So an upset mind, you feel, I am upset. A mind full of desire, you feel, I want. You don't. You are neither upset nor do you want anything. You are illumining the mind which is upset. And the upset is in the mind. And the wanting is in the mind. And the unhappiness is in the mind. And the excitement is in the mind. The boredom is in the mind. Waking, dreaming, sleeping are in the mind. Not in awareness. This is called upadhi. Therefore, what is in the mind appears to be transferred to you. You are actually, it is not transferred, you are not affected by it. The crystal is asanga. It is not connected to the orange cloth, nor is it connected to the red flower. It is not connected to orange color, not connected to, it's not smeared red by the presence of the red color. It is asanga. Similarly, as witness consciousness, we are asanga, untouched. It's already a fact. We have to just recognize the fact. The more we recognize it and notice it, the more we will see, as awareness, it's all right. Even in the most difficult circumstance, actually, it's something that is appearing in me. It looks very difficult, a big struggle, but just temporary. It's appearing, it will go away very soon, and even when it is appearing, it's not really in me. So, upadhi. The conditions of the body, healthy or sick, young or old, smooth skin or wrinkled skin, in the body, not in consciousness. Yes, there's wrinkles on the face, but not in consciousness. Consciousness is not wrinkled. Yeah, that's Swami, that's all right, but I'm worried about the face. But the face is not you. The face is not you. It's an object. It's a thing. It never was you. That's difficult, Swami. It isn't. It's pretty simple. We are so engaged in taking care of this, what St. Francis used to call brother ass, the body. Feeding it and tending to it and beautifying it. It will cheat us very badly and very soon. It'll get old and creaky and troublesome and it'll make you work harder and harder taking care of it. Finally it'll die and leave you stranded. Gone. What happened? Finished. But then I wasted my life. You did. You're not supposed to, the body will tell you, you're not supposed to take care of me. You're supposed to do something in life with the body, not to take care of the body. Yeah. So, upadhi. The body appears to transfer its characteristics to us. The mind appears to transfer its characteristics to us. Appears. Even when it seems that I am old and I am sick and I am so unhappy and I am so lonely. Old, body is old. We are not denying that fact. Sick, that's a condition of the prana, not you. Unhappy or lonely, that's a condition of the mind, not you. And when you do that, and it's a fact, and you can see that, it's a fact. When you fall asleep, for example, when you're not aware of the body, when you're not aware of the mind, do you feel in sleep that I'm so old? No. Do you feel in deep sleep, I am so lonely? No. In deep sleep, you are alone, completely alone. You don't feel lonely at all. It's the mind. Because the mind has fallen asleep, you don't feel lonely at all in deep sleep. You don't feel anything at all. Because it's the mind which generates those feelings and then transfers it to you. Upadhi, this is another point. This is the second reason why we are asanga, non-attached. Already. And remember, asanga leads to peace. Asangatvam, the shanti, peace comes from that. The third reason is what is called Karya Karana Adhishthana. It's a fancy Sanskrit word, but what it means is in Vedanta, Brahman or pure consciousness is the ground of this entire universe. The entire universe appears in this pure consciousness. So, It's like clay being made into a pot. That's the classic example being given. The material of the pot is clay, and the name and the form and the activity is what you call pot. Let me repeat that. The material is wood, and it's shaped into this form, and this is called a lectern or a podium. And it has a name, lectern, and it has a use. The Swami gives long talks from this. So these are the name, form, and use. But the material is wood. This is what you touch. It's you say touch wood. You don't say touch podium. So touch wood. It is the material here. Now the point here is the material cause is unaffected or unattached asanga with respect to the effect. Let me repeat that. The clay, when you make it into a pot, the clay, nothing happens to the clay actually. It's still clay. It's still wood here. If you say, no, you are a podium, the wood will say, I'm wood. What's a podium? In fact, it sounds peculiar, but if somebody asks, point out the podium here. Swami, you are just using it, look at it, but this is wood. Apart from the wood, can you point out a second entity called the podium? There's no such thing. The podium is a name and a form and a function. Nama, Rupa, Vyavahara. But the material, here, touch wood. So the material cause is completely unaffected by names, forms, and functions. There's a nice story about this. The sage Shukadeva. These are all stories told by the monks in the Himalayas. The sage Shukadeva, he comes to Shiva one day to meet Shiva and Parvati. And he's childlike. He doesn't know the formalities. You have to gone to meet the great god Shiva. You have to bow down and maybe chant a hymn or something. He just says, hi, or something like that. And Shiva also talks with him and they have a jolly good time. Now Parvati is very unhappy. She looks in askance at this sage. And when he leaves, Parvati says, the boy has become rude. I'm translating from Hindi. Ahankar ho gaya. He's become very egotistic because he's a great sage. Did you notice? He didn't even bow down to you, didn't take the dust off your feet. And Shiva said, he's innocent. He doesn't think about these things, Okay, story within story. I remember, this is about 30 years ago, I had just become a monk. And we were walking with a senior monk, and there were school students with us. And we were walking in the fields outside the ashram. And one of the school students, he came up, he had a nail in his shoe. He took out the shoe and he gave it to the monk. Swami, can you take it out? And the Swami took the nail out from the shoe and gave it back. I was aghast. I said to the Swami, look at that boy, he's giving his shoe to you. He doesn't even know the rudiments of, how you should behave with a monk. And I was a monk for 3 days or a week. And this Swami had been a monk for more than 20 or 30 years. He smiled and said, the fault is in your mind, not in his mind. He's innocent. He doesn't know these differences. It's a hierarchy in your mind, but not in his mind. And it's all right. So the saint, the Shiva said he's innocent. He doesn't think in that way. But the Parvati said, no, this is not good. He needs to be taught a lesson. Right? This is from Hindi. Oont jaisa naak upar karke chalta hai. He walks with his nose in the air like a camel. So I'm going to punish him. Shiva, I guess just like any husband, shrugged. This. It's impossible to argue when she is in a mood. So she said, I'm going to punish this one. And she says to the sage, she appears before the sage and says, become a camel. And of course, she's the Divine Mother. She's in charge of the entire universe. Whatever she wants, exactly that will happen immediately. So the sage is transformed into a camel. Then she comes back, quite happy. I've done what was necessary. Shiva keeps quiet. He knows she will change her mind very soon. A few days later, after all, she's the mother. And the sage is also her child. She's worried. She's saying to Shiva, I wonder how the sage is doing, that boy is doing. And Shiva says, I'm sure he's okay. Said, no, but he was a sage and now he's a camel. So I feel sort of bad for him. And Shiva says, why don't you go and take a look? And that's what she wanted to do. And she said, all right, let me go. And then she goes and appears before in all her glory. By the way, Durga Puja is coming very soon. So it's like that. In all her glory, she appears before the camel who was chewing dry shrubs in the desert. Well, well, well. How are things for you these days? O Shukadeva, O sage Shuka. And Shukadeva, the camel, of course, can speak in chaste Sanskrit and all that. So he says, mother, you have come. Yes, wonderful. Things are really good. They're good? Yes, they're very good. Earlier I was a sage and I had an ashram. I had to collect money for the ashram, and there were these stupid brahmacharis, novices. I had to teach them Vedanta, and I had all these things to do, But now I'm a camel. I go where I like and I eat what I like, and just I spend my time. I'm so happy. I'm not translating the Hindi itself is much more crude. It says, it's like I can eat whatever I like and pee wherever I like. So I'm a camel. And the Divine Mother was, this didn't work out well at all. What? He said, all right, be a sage again. And he says, all right, I'll be a sage. Now, the point of this is, to the enlightened one, the name, form, and function doesn't matter. This is a colorful story to show that. Name, form, and function doesn't touch you. The Brahman or Atman is the Karana, the Adhisthana. Not even Karana, the Adhisthana of the cause and effect of this universe. I'll just give you, because there isn't enough time, it will take a whole class to explain this. Brahman is the ground of the cause and effect of this universe. What does that mean? Brahman as existence, consciousness, bliss, in connection with the power of Maya, becomes the cause of the universe. And the entirety of the universe, the 5 elements and the entire physical universe, is the effect. So Brahman becomes the cause of the universe with Maya. But both cause and effect, Brahman plus Maya and the universe, cause and effect, the ground of both is Brahman. And the ground is not affected by cause or effect. Asanga, you are Asanga, untouched. You are the untouched ground of this universe. Karya Karana Adhisthana Brahma. I'm just trying to explain that clause. Third reason why you are not affected by the universe. Don't worry, I'll sum up all 3. I'm sure you forgot. What were the first 2? And then the fourth reason is a similar one, but more subtle. Vivartadhisthana. Brahman is the ground of the universe appearance. The reality is never affected by the appearance. So the rope appears as a snake. But nothing of that apparent snake affects the rope. Or as Shankaracharya says, all the water in a mirage is not enough to wet 1 grain of sand in the desert. Why? Because the mirage water belongs to a level of appearance. And the desert belongs to the level of relative reality. Vyavaharika, Pratibhasika. These 2 differences in Sanskrit. So, whatever happens on the movie does not affect the movie screen. There might be a tremendous explosion in the cinema, but the screen doesn't become scorched. There might be a great flood in the movie. The screen doesn't become wet. There might be a great earthquake in the movie. The screen is not cracked. Because what happens at the level of appearance does not touch reality. Brahman is the reality of which this universe is an appearance, and therefore Asanga, the reality, is untouched, unaffected by the appearance. And the 5th reason why we are Asanga, it's just a derivative. It's a much more simple way of saying reality is not affected by, truth is not affected by falsity. Truth is not affected by falsity. What is real is not affected by appearance, like the Vivartadhisthana, just making it more simple. So 5 reasons, these are all philosophical reasons, why you, the Atman, Brahman, is not affected by the world appearance, why you are Asanga. What are the 5 reasons? 1, because of you are like light, prakasha. Light is not affected by what it illumines. 1. 2, upadhi. Remember the upadhi? The upadhi actually does not transfer, appears to transfer its qualities onto you, but does not transfer. You only appear like that, but you are perfectly all right. 3rd, karya karana adhisthana. Remember the wood and the podium, the clay and the pot. The ground of this universe is not affected by the cause and effect of this universe. Third, and then the fourth one is vivartadhisthana. The ground of appearance is not affected by the appearance. All the water in a mirage is not enough to wet one grain of sand of the desert. All the happenings of this world leaves no effect on you, the ground of this universe. Or to put it, the whole thing in a simple way, falsity does not affect reality. I'm translating again from Hindi. Tattva. Tattva means reality. The principle of reality is not affected by an appearance because of these reasons. I will try to conclude now with, we'll give Ma Sharada the last word. She says, at the end of her life, to a woman, a lady who was attending to her, she says, my child, if you want peace, don't find fault with others. Rather look to your own faults. The world is your own. Learn to make the world your own. Nobody is an other for you. In Bengali, jodi shanti chao ma, pore dosh dekho na. Dosh dekhbe nijer. জগৎটিকে আপনার করে নিতে শেখো, কেউ পর নয় মা. Now just think about it. It's so simple, so practical, but so deep. All that we were discussing, the devotional surrender to the Lord, the stillness of yogic meditation, and the Vedantic truth that I am the non-dual pure consciousness. All of these are packed into this little statement. It might sound very commonsensical, do not find fault with others. One might even say, but I am not finding fault with others. There are no others involved. I am just suffering myself, maybe poor health or loneliness or something. Even then what she says applies. If we are suffering, if we do not have peace, if I do not have peace, her simple suggestion is look to your own faults, which means suppose there is nobody else involved. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm not finding fault with anybody, but I am suffering myself. I don't have peace. In that case, let me see why I don't have peace. Could I do something differently? Could I speak differently? Could I think differently? Then maybe I'll have peace. The fault still, according to her, the problem still lies within me. It's not anybody else's fault. It is not the fault of samsara. It is certainly not the fault of God. It is not an irredeemable situation. We can make a difference and we can find peace right here. And she gives a clue to that. She says one way, a very important way, nothing in this world is other than you. This is the core truth of non-duality. Everything, everybody, every situation, including the miserable ones, are you. We are it. And this world, I alone am shining forth as my world. We alone are shining forth as what we experience. So none of it, even the people who seem to be creating chaos in our lives, whether it is health or money or politics or environment, whatever it is a radiance of ourselves. And the way to redeem this is to first acknowledge, include everybody. It's all right. They are all one with me. You don't have to go around telling everybody and hugging everybody. They'll think you're nuts. Mentally, however, include everybody in your own existence. Not one being here is other than me. Certainly not the one I am facing. They are all one with me. Then from that position, react. First of all, make a change in the thinking, then in our speech and in our action. We'll find peace. We'll find peace. And immediately so. And lastingly so. I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swami Vivekananda. May they bless all of us. May we find this peace. It is right here, and it is our birthright, our spiritual birthright. May this shine forth in our lives. May our lives be blessed, and may we be a blessing to others also around us. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.